Hi, today we're going to be discussing viruses and what are viruses and how do they cause damage in living things. First thing about viruses is they are a non-living particle. They're not a living organism. But even though they are not considered living, they are made of genetic material. They basically have two parts to them. Some kind of genetic material, either DNA or RNA, and some kind of protein coat that holds it in called a capsid. They're really actually very simple. Those are their two main components. One type of virus is called a retrovirus. This is a type that actually has RNA for the genetic material. And really the RNA will convert back into DNA, but they still have some kind of genetic material. And the most common example of this is the HIV virus. Here's just some examples of some different shapes and sizes of viruses. They're very small, but they can come in different shapes. And just noticing these three different structures up here, they still will all have some kind of DNA inside of them. They all have some kind of DNA and then some kind of protein that holds it in. Even though some have other structures like these little tail fibers, they all have the DNA and some kind of protein coat. Viruses are considered parasites. They cannot live on their own. They have to have some kind of host cell, a living cell that they need to invade in order to replicate themselves and in order for them to survive. So that's why people and other organisms get sick when they're attacked by a virus, because the virus is taking over and using the healthy cells for its own gain. Here's a bacteriophage. These are studied a lot because humans can kind of control these and see how a virus is going to behave. A bacteriophage is just a virus that will attack a bacteria cell, because a bacteria is a living thing, so it will get attacked by a virus just like a human would. So this is a bacteriophage. You'll see this mentioned a lot. It's just a type of virus that attacks a bacteria. Notice it has the DNA, and then it has this capsid or protein coat that encases that. So here's actually how a virus will attack a host cell. There's two ways. We have what's called the lytic infection, where the virus will actually get inside the host cell and destroy it. Here's an illustration showing that. Up here, what you have is the green virus attacking and putting its DNA into the cell. And as the cell goes through this cycle, it has virus DNA in it. And what happens is the virus uses that to make more viruses. That's these little green guys down here. And then what happens over time is these viruses bust out of the cell and they start to look for other cells to invade. So the cell is actually destroyed, and they're going to all go look for other cells to also destroy. And that's the lytic cycle. We also have a lysogenic cycle. The mechanism's a little different, but basically it's going to end the same way as the first one I just showed you. This is where the virus DNA goes into the host, and people might walk around, or other organisms might walk around with this viral DNA in them for a while, but it takes a while for it to actually destroy the cell. And so it looks very similar when you start where you have the virus DNA inside of the cell. Virus DNA is still inside of the cell, and it can still be in there, and as the cell divides, it looks healthy, but it has the virus DNA in it. So it's going to remain like that, and the cell will keep copying itself with virus DNA in it, and then eventually over time, this could go into the lytic infection, where the viruses all of a sudden break out and start destroying the cell. So what happens is the virus DNA is copied over and over, but eventually it can go into this lytic cycle, and it really follows the same path where it's destroying healthy cells. So in order to fight a virus, a lot of people think that if you get an antibiotic, it's going to fight a virus. Antibiotics do nothing with viruses. Those are only meant to kill bacteria, which is different than a virus. So really, there's a couple of things that we have that we can use. First line of defense are always the white blood cells. They're kind of like just the general attack of the immune system that will try to destroy a virus. So you have like your body's own immune defenses that kick in. We also have antibodies, which are proteins in a body that are specifically for attacking maybe a certain virus. And you can produce these naturally, Like if you ever are exposed to like a certain flu virus, you'll build naturally antibodies to kill it for next time. Or you can have a vaccine where they actually are injecting into you either a killed virus, a dead virus, or a very, very weak virus to make your body produce the antibodies without actually making you sick. Another thing that we can use is interferon, which is a specific protein made by the body that will try to attack the virus. But really those are the only defenses that we have, as well as rest and water, but antibiotics will not work with a virus. And that concludes our discussion on viruses.